be out of here at 6:05. Okay, I'm going to call this planning commission meeting to order on Thursday, December 7th, 2023. And we have a few public hearing items and some that are not. Would we like to start with Foothills at Francis Gate annexation?
Sure. Okay, so there's been an annexation that came back in April. I'm gonna go ahead and change the screen to the map. So we've been working through this annexation this year. There are several steps for an annexation, and in the staff report, I laid out the whole process, and we're on what I laid out was really simplified, but it's step 6, and that's where we have a public hearing before the planning commission, and right now we are in a protest period, so people that are within the annexation boundaries or certain entities can protest the annexation. That period ends December 14th, which also happens to be the day that the city council will be discussing this, most likely, unless we table it tonight. So anyway, this annexation is 3 parcels. See the map down here. The current city boundary is this kind of dotted line, the black and, actually this is the red line, is the city boundary. No, sorry, that's not it. Anyway, the city boundary right now comes out to here, right here. So here's Foothill. Here is 35, SR 35. So it's near that intersection. This is parcel FT2, which is currently owned by the same developer that's asking for this annexation. And the annexation is these 3 parcels. So here's the city boundary, this black dotted line. So these 3 parcels, CD 2003, 2001A, and 2003X, is what they're asking to annex. It is within our annexation declaration boundaries, and this one, 2003X, is the location of the city's well and tank. So it's in some ways our own annexation as well, our own property. So anyway, they want to, part of the reason that they're asking for this is because they want to change the alignment of the road that they have planned for this Foothills at Francis Gate development. So it was going to come out on 35, but now it will be on Foothill, which we feel like is a better alignment for the city. So they're planning 5 1-acre lots on the front property, which is FG2. This property could, with the current zoning, they could build about 10 here, but as part of the negotiations for this annexation, they've agreed to cut that down to 5, and then they'd have 1 additional parcel in the annex property. So let me show you that. It's right here. So it's still loading, but great.
So they're annexing from Woodland?
No.
So where it comes in from Foothill and goes up and loops around,
Yeah, so where these
the
loops
original
start.
road was just gonna come straight down
Yeah.
and meet on 35. And if we don't annex it, it'll go back to that plan.
I don't know that the road alignment will change because they own the whole road now. So they purchased the property from the Prescotts so that they could change the road alignment. If we don't annex it, the only change would be that they'd be allowed to do more lots.
Yeah, they could change the alignment and put it down the middle of that property and subdivide it into more lots.
Right, so they'd probably put it down the middle and instead of doing the
Just go
5
like
here.
county rules instead of our rules.
Well, there's only that little bit that's in the county.
So
they-
lot 77 is the only lot that's right, it's in the
That
county.
would stay in the county, and then all that property in there, they put the road down the middle of the property. They could develop it to, our standards.
It's already in
having
Kansas.
lots.
So it's being annexed from the county.
Yes.
Right.
So are those acre lots, like how big are those lots?
I don't know, it's just a concept, let me look at my staff report really quick. Let's see, I put it here, so FT2 is 6.88 acres. So this one, these 5 lots is 6.88, so they'd all be a little bit more than 1 acre lots. So the zoning for all of this will be AG1. That's
Are
what they're
we
proposing.
responsible for maintaining that road?
Yes.
Yes, eventually. So that's one of the reasons we wanted to change the alignment. This will be easier for us to maintain. Before we had some, a lot of retaining walls, which would be more expensive to build and to maintain. So this works out better for us as a city to maintain. So, anyway.
A while back, months ago, we changed the percentage grade to, special compensation for 8 or 12. Do these hit that?
Yes.
Are they 12 or 8 or in between?
There's some steeper 8, and 10%,
Yeah, those corners are pretty steep.
but through the switchbacks, I think they're less than that 80%.
And that's okay with the plow?
Okay, so anyway, the applicant agreed to reduce the density as a benefit to the city for annexation. They have to provide a benefit to the city. So when we look at an annexation, there's usually, we go back to the general plan and see what goals we had. So looking at the general plan that's in place now, not the new one we're working on, it says that development should be encouraged to occur within the existing city boundaries as a first priority, which most of this development is within the city boundaries. And then the annexation should only be approved based on an overwhelming benefit to the community as a whole. So they're really not requiring a lot development-wise. It actually reduces the overall development from 10 lots to 6. So that is the main benefit as well. And an additional benefit is that the city's lawn tank will be within the city's boundaries. And as I mentioned, the better alignment of Foothill Road. I didn't identify any drawbacks to this annexation. But anyway, so my recommendation is just to remind you that annexation is legislative. It's the decision to grant or deny a petition is up to the discretion of the planning commission and the city council. There's like no code that we're looking at to check the boxes. This is completely up to the discretion of the planning commission and city council. So if the proposed annexation is consistent with the goals of the general plan, and if it provides an overwhelming benefit to the community, the planning commission may give a positive recommendation to the city council to grant the application.
So when they do snow removal, is there enough area to push the snow so that it's not inhibiting the well?
Yeah.
There's plenty of room.
Yeah.
So that road's not going to impact the well in any way.
No, it actually, be better for us, because right now we have a dirt road, and we can't keep it clean in the winter, so we don't have access to the well site by truck. They walk into it. So with this road being built, it will give us access to the well during the winter months.
And it reduces the number of lots that we would normally have going
That
in.
they could build, right?
And it would change the zoning up, because right now that zone, half of it's half acre and half of it's 1 acre, the end zone, all 1 acre lots.
That is true, yeah. So the front is currently zoned residential half, but this would be agreed.
Except for 77, which looks like it's probably 2.5.
Right, but it would still be ag one zoning. But as part of the agreement, they come and build 6 total lots. I don't know that we'll actually change the zoning in the, the FT2 zoning, we probably will leave it the same, otherwise we have to go through a zone change. So the AG1 is only
When I talked to
for
Brad,
the,
he said this would change it, so.
It would change it.
let's discuss that with Brad more, because I don't think we can change zoning through a annexation agreement that's not even on this, it's not an annexed property. Let me talk to Brad about that one more. I don't think it's critical for our discussion tonight, it's just logistics and how we write the annexation agreement. I don't think we can change the name of an annexation agreement like this, where it's not property that's being annexed in.
So we're not voting on it tonight.
Well, you will be able to motion on it, but we'll have an answer by next week when we go to city council. We'll make sure it's right in the annexation agreement.
But the annexation of the development agreement will limit the property to these 6 lots.
Right,
That's all they're gonna be able to do.
so really the zoning is kind of a moot point.
Yeah, so whether it's zoned or not, the annexation of the development agreement will limit the amount of homes they can put on.
Right, even if it says residential half zoning on the zoning map here, the development agreement and annexation agreement will restrict it to just the one lot.
Even down the road, they could, in 15, 20 years, they could opt to divide that. And
As long as they don't amend it. So even if the city council could amend it later, but as long as they don't, then that will stay in force. So I actually didn't open the annexation agreement file. Let me see if I can get it. I put a new one in and it doesn't seem to be showing up for me yet, but I'll try to get one. Hold up.
Sam, don't you live on Foothill?
Yeah, I live right next to
What
them.
do you think about it? Like, it's not gonna, you live right next to it?
I'm 2 lots away. To
On the north
to
side?
north. Mhm. I'm not thrilled about it dumping onto Foothill Drive because there's already excess traffic because of the schools. And a lot of people drive up and down that road quickly. So that part doesn't thrill me, but even if it dumps onto 35, they're likely gonna come down 35 and go up Foothill anyway. So, and there's a lot of houses that are being built behind there. I like the idea that this limits from 10 to 5 in those sections for sure. That is a positive for me.
I feel the same way about it.
It's a busy intersection there, so I think we can limit it, especially put them closer away from that intersection. It's a good thing.
So all that land to the north of the road looks undeveloped according to this map?
The land north of that,
Yeah.
so
Just
just
where
north
it's
of
coming
that, right north of that road is my neighbor's property. And so he owns, I think, 4 acres right
Does he?
there. And then I'm next to that.
Can you see it on this map?
Yeah,
Okay, yeah.
so the yellow outline where the section, the FT2 we're talking about, that yellow outline directly north is my neighbor's, that whole 4 acres. No, that entire, like where the house is,
Oh, this one?
yeah.
Okay,
But the road's gonna go right through the middle of that main parcel?
Yes, he has an easement
Oh,
there
right
that he,
there.
yes,
Okay. Okay.
that he had knew about when he bought the property. So that's not a surprise to him. So, I mean, that just adds more traffic, but again, likely if they have to go down Foothill, they're going to go north anyway toward the schools or go back to 35. And there's another entrance just north of that, dumping out onto Foothill from all of those homes.
Really?
Yeah,
so they'll have 2
so they have 2
on the
Exits.
Okay. Entrance and egress
Yeah,
for those homes that are built up higher.
Well, like you said, I like it just because it's reducing the number of homes that are going in right there, and acre lots are desirable, I think, for everybody.
And either way, the city would have to maintain the road getting in, right? So whether it is from 35 or from Foothill, because currently the road going from 35 is that dirt road that's kind of a zigzag there. That's where you get to the well. if it makes it easier for the city, it makes more sense. I do like the fact that it's fewer homes.
And it's okay for that exit road from the development to be less than 500 feet from 35.
I wish we could talk to the guy who owned that property, because we're putting a road in right next to his house.
Oh,
In the middle.
yeah. I'm sure that he got the notice that I did for the annexation.
Oh, you got a notice?
I got a notice.
Yeah, you probably received several notices from us for different parts of it.
I came down the next day and talked to
Yeah.
So I'm sure he got the notice. I know that he's well aware of the easement for a potential road. He actually told me and my husband about it. So I don't know if he knows the current plans, but I'm sure he got a notice.
I'm sure when he built his home, he was thinking, there's no way.
And he built his home further north on his property with that,
Oh,
I believe
right.
that intent,
Okay.
understanding that.
Does he have animals? Does he have horses?
Mike.
As I say, if he wanted to develop it, would the road from the big development hinder him putting a road in to develop the back of his lot?
It might actually
It would
help
help
because it already
has
brings it
frontage.
past him,
Just access the road.
so it would probably help him if he ever opted to do that.
Yeah, I don't see an issue with that.
Okay, it is a public hearing, so we just have to go through the formality of opening and closing a
Would you
hearing.
like to ask her if she's, just to make it official? We can get a box for the lectern.
Ever come speak?
Anyway, here's the language in the annexation agreement. One of the things that we need to look at too with this is the annexation agreement. So, so this is where it talks about no additional lots. FG2 is also owned by the developer and has already certain zoning rights. This annexation is being granted in part because developer agrees to develop no more than 6 lots on the combined parcels CD 2001A, CD 2003, and FT2. And then we have our usual water requirements, nothing new there, same with the streets. Really, the only changes were that we're limiting development, and then we're not charging any annexation fees because they are giving up development rights. Any other changes, Scott?
No, and one thing, he's gotta improve Foothill, he's gonna widen it
Oh, that's right.
from his property. So from the intersection to his property.
For a turn-in,
For,
all the way down to the other entrance?
what's that? No, just his property that he owns.
So
Oh,
from
gotcha.
35 to the road, he's gonna like,
Yeah, to the.
by how
edge.
much? Like 10 feet or 5 feet?
It's like 5 or 6 feet on each side
Okay.
that we're planning, we haven't, that's just kind of, he said this is a trend, we haven't got officially to design and all that yet, so. That's one thing he has to do as part of the annexation.
So just that part of Foothill.
We can only ask so much.
I was just wondering.
It'd be nice if we could go all the way down, but
Oh, I don't expect that. I think it's just to look funny.
yeah. It's just, the only problem is, the speed's high enough on there already, but if we widen it,
Oh, yeah.
And
It's 25. It's a
It'll be
list of
55.
25 and people don't do
Yeah.
25.
So how big are the annexation fees that we're waiving?
So we usually charge $8,000 per lot. So if they have one lot that's in the annexed area, so that would be 8,000.
I would consider that one.
Yeah. Google Docs.
That was a good question.
So do we do a motion on this or no? Do we just
Yeah.
approve
If
and
you feel like
send it
you're
forward?
ready to motion, you could, if you are think it says it's a good thing, or you would give a positive recommendation in your motion, to give a positive recommendation to approve the annexation.
And there are no special things that
And then we also want, the annexation goes hand in hand, the annexation agreement goes hand in hand with the annexation. So we approve the petition and then attach this agreement to the ordinance. Anyway, so they both have to have a motion. You could do one motion that mentioned both.
Is there a trail system through this development?
There are the trails on the side of the road like we have through river bluffs and that.
Okay.
So before
Originally,
the
we didn't have
annexation,
that,
we
but
wouldn't
a
have
few years ago.
received any money for annexation fees because it's all county. So if we annex it into the city, then we're really gaining the $8,000 we wouldn't normally have.
Right, yeah, that's usually how it works. So this, this development, Foothills at Francis Gate, used to be called Tipton Hills. And it was approved for annexation like 20 years ago. And at that time, they agreed to pay $500,000, right? Scott?
568.
568 something for the 76 lots to annex those into the city.
Would anyone care to make a motion?
Oh, I thought you had to do it.
No, I can't. make that.
Okay, I would like to motion in favor of it.
Second that?
I,
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous.
All right. Thank you.
Next on our agenda,
Yeah, I'm just writing one note here.
conservation subdivision code text amendment.
Yes. Okay, so the code text amendment, right, staff report, here we go. So the city council has been spending quite a bit of time lately discussing moderate income housing requirements for conservation subdivisions, and particularly the townhomes. We have a requirement, right now we have a requirement that any townhome that's approved in the conservation subdivision has to be deed restricted for moderate income housing. So that's trying to hit the people who make 80 to 120% of the average income or moderate income, mean income and median income in Summit County. So anyway, the agreement was that they were supposed to, or the code said that they were supposed to enter into a moderate income agreement for 100% of the townhomes. And there's 3 subdivisions that already have those: Stewart Ranches, Park Crossing, and Hidden Meadows. And we've heard from both of those developers, there's 2 separate developers that have the 3 properties, and they both have expressed that that's not really realistic, it's not going to pencil for them. So the city council has been discussing over the last several months how to address this, what's the best way to do it, from don't change anything to just take out any deed restrictions at all. And what they've decided on is they would like to see that we allow townhomes and conservation subdivisions, but 20% of them have to be deed restricted. So that's what this code text amendment does, is put that into our code. City council's, I guess, decision that they would like the 20%. So, so the change is just a few words in our code. It says for each townhome approved within the conservation subdivision, a minimum of 0.02 units in the development must be deed restricted to provide moderate income housing per our moderate income housing code.
From 100%.
From 100 to 20. Most cities require about 10 for something like this. 10% is usually like kind of the standard, so this is a little more than that. We've had a lot of increase in construction costs, supply issues, all the things that make my house go from double in price in 5 years. So, where 5 years ago, when a lot of this was put in place, developers were thinking, that's no problem at all, we can hit those targets. And now the building costs have increased so much that they cannot. So really the city is in the position of deciding, do we just want no housing that even approaches anything affordable? Townhomes are still more affordable than a 1 acre ranch home. Or do we try to work with developers and get some that are restricted, some that work for people that are in that moderate income area, which
Does it
most of us in Francis are.
Does
But
it have to be just townhomes?
no,
And
no.
can't cottage lots be
Sure, yeah, so we changed the
included in
code.
that?
Yeah, you might have remembered, it seems like a year ago, we changed the code to say that instead of the townhomes would have to be deed restricted, it can be a unit. So if they have 100 units in the subdivision and 25 are townhomes, which is the max allowed, 25% townhomes, then they would have to deed restrict, I think, 5 of them, which would be
Yeah.
5, yeah, 2%, so that would be, 20% would be 5 townhomes. But not necessarily townhomes, it could be 5 units, it could be residential cottage lots. Likely they're gonna be the townhomes, but it could be any of the 5 units in the whole entire development.
So I guess my question is, in the Hidden Meadows, 137 units is what it will be now. Any of them, there are some 7 to 10,000 square foot lots there.
Yeah.
Will any of those have to be deed restricted?
No, we'll
Should
talk
we
about
write
Hidden
that
Meadows,
into
we'll talk about that next.
Okay. But
I wanna
in
separate
any-
this a little bit.
Yeah, okay. In any situation, in a cottage lot, 7 to 10,000 square feet, shouldn't it come under the same heading as a townhome?
It's not how it's ever been written. Because most conservation subdivisions, that's kind of the point of the conservation subdivision, is to have large areas of open space, have conservation areas where they cannot develop in certain areas. So they're taking those areas and the overall density is the same, but they're having smaller lots, they're those cottage-sized lots. So it's not cottage zoning, but they're cottage-sized lots, 7,000 minimum square foot lots.
So one question I have, so what happens if we say no and we leave it the way it is?
Well, what you could do is you could forward this to the city council with a negative recommendation if you feel like this is not the right choice. And at that point, they can do one of two things. They can ignore your recommendation, or they could maybe kind of work session and we can all talk about it.
I think my concern, like looking at this, we're giving up something significant.
We are,
We're giving up something significant that also goes counter to what our voters told us and what our goals are of trying to limit development. So now we're saying we're gonna have a bunch of high density development that's high price. And it seems like we're losing in 2 ways. And I'm curious, what are the builders giving us? Because we should be getting something for this because we're giving them a big gift here.
Well, to be honest with you, they don't see it that way at all.
Of
They were
course
really
they do.
hoping that we would get rid of this entirely.
I'm sure.
That's why the next item on the agenda is taking out townhomes, because given the 20% deed restriction, they don't want to do that at all.
Yeah.
And I can see your point. It's really frustrating for me because we were promised one thing and we have these agreements in place and now they're just saying we can't meet that agreement. And I understand the
It's
reasons
not up
why.
to us to make sure they make money. If they don't pencil in, they need a better estimator.
I mean, it's been advertised for a while now through the Park Record and other entities that Hidden Meadows is gonna be median home income, like that will be affordable housing, and I know a lot of people waiting for that. So I'm with Rich, no way.
And so, I mean, so going back, so we've given them approval for smaller lot sizes, right? Did we change the zoning for that, or is it just?
It's part of the conservation subdivision. So the overall zoning, like for Hart, for example, the overall zoning is AG1, 1 lot per acre, and that's what the overall zoning is.
Yeah.
But you'll see most of the lots being smaller lots. We found that people don't want to take care of a big 1 acre lot. They'd rather have a small lot and then enjoy the open space, whether it be agriculture, just like you see on Hart, the sheep and the steers that are, the horses that are out there, that's because it's a conservation subdivision. Otherwise, you would have 1 acre lots through that whole entire piece, there would be no open space.
Yeah.
So that's why we started the conservation subdivision, because we felt like that was the only way to get any open space permanently, other than adding another tax, is to
But
do this.
even acres though, that still remains very open. I'm not saying it's not open for cattle, but it's still not dense, you know?
Right, but still, it feels, I don't know, it just feels different because instead of the houses being cramped, you got a little bit more space between them, but you don't have a big open field that people can use, you know, agricultural, you can see.
I mean, he can't go all the way up the mountain anyway, so there's still gonna be a lot of it that's gonna remain open.
Right,
Right,
But
even
you
meadows, it's a lot, mostly open space.
And that's my question is, so not necessarily what does the city council do, or, so assuming the city council says no, we say no, what does the builder do? What options do they have? Right?
The developer,
Yeah, do they have options that make us worse off then?
well, it depends on your opinion, of course, but like, for example, let's just talk about Hidden Meadows, let's just go over there and talk about it. That'll make the next item easier. So they can choose whether they want to keep the townhomes with the 20% deed restriction, or if they want to get rid of them.
But it's 100%, so it's not like they have a choice. So
Well,
right now, it's 100%.
Right now, it's 100, it's going down to 20. That's what
If
the
we
council
agreed.
That's what the council has agreed to, and that's what the city attorney recommended 10%. The council went to 20, and that's pretty much what they've already decided. I will tell you that. They've spent months talking about this, and they're not happy about it either. None of us are happy
So then
about
why
it.
is it coming before us?
Because it is for more or less, it's formality. Code text amendments have to go to the planning commission. So they've been talking about this in generalities, trying to make a decision, and now it's coming to, okay, we've made a decision, we have to change the code to enact that, so this is where you're seeing it.
So but presumably, I'm sorry,
Kind of the horse before the cart.
but as I say, presumably when you're negotiating with them, they were saying that we would be getting something. So,
Yeah.
so what's the city getting? What's the city getting from this change? Like, there's gotta be some benefit.
Well,
What's our benefit?
well, I think the benefit is we're getting some moderate income housing, because if we say 100%, nobody's ever gonna build that.
Right?
If we say 100%, because if they do 100% of townhomes, that cost is gonna get put on to the other homeowners. The other homeowners have gotta pay for it, because they're not gonna,
they just won't build it, and then
Well,
we'll probably
they-
end up in a lawsuit.
But we don't know that. We don't know that.
No,
We can't predict did you know your home was gonna double in value in 5 years?
Of course not, but I'm just saying,
We can't
talking with we've sat down in meetings with our attorney and their attorney, and they basically said, we can't make this work, there's a clause in here that if you force us to make this work, then we'll turn around and there will be a lawsuit. So either, we're not gonna do anything at all here, and there's a lawsuit, or you work with us on something that is reasonable, and we still don't like it, they really don't like it. They have another plan that they wanted to do that involved like reducing the interest rates, we're not doing that. So they're really not happy, and we're not happy, and it's just not a good situation overall, but I feel like this is the best that we can do between, like, we're both not happy, so.
I mean, if the decision's already been made,
I don't know how
then
to
it doesn't
explain
matter
that,
what we
but-
say.
So the city just gets to avoid litigation.
Yeah.
Is really what that comes down to. It's not that the city's getting anything other than they're avoiding potential litigation.
That, and then we don't have this subdivision out there like stagnant over, like, it doesn't become another Circle T, which is another issue that we talked about. We don't wanna just out there over our heads. I don't know, Scott, you've been in all these meetings that I've been in.
It's, I don't know, it's,
There's no like win, it's
Yeah,
not a
it's not
win, it's a
win-win.
lose-lose.
it's, yeah. Just a-
And I think my question is still, does it get us closer to what we're trying to achieve with our overall objectives? And
Yeah, in some ways, because part of the reason they wanted to do the townhomes in these conservation subdivisions or allow it as an option is to have something that's a little bit more affordable than like 1 acre lot. So these are still expensive, there's no question, but they are more affordable, and there will be, at heart, 4 that are deed restricted. And the deed restriction is in place for like 20 years, 25, I can't remember what we have in the agreement now.
Have you guys walked through the townhomes over in Harbor and Developer,
A
Harbor
little bit.
Crossing? I've been in them. I mean, they're nice,
Yeah.
but they're expensive.
They are. Right,
And so you're saying one of those 4 was sold at a median range?
None of them.
None of
this
them
came to
were.
my attention because it came to my attention and yes, I'm the one that noticed it. And I think everybody knows that, but anyway, I think if there's anyone that's angry about it, it's me, because we were promised one thing and we're getting something else. But I do feel like after going through the process with the city council the last really 6 months, since I kind of noticed that they weren't being sold when they should be, I feel like we have ended up with the best solution of 20%. As much as I hate it,
so are they compensating us for that? Arch Crossing?
I mean, no.
What's the recourse that
Yeah.
the city has if we agree to this and they come back and they don't end up telling them what the agreed rate was?
We can do a lawsuit, there is a clause in the agreement, we put it in because of COVID. And I don't wanna say what I don't wanna take the words of the city attorney, but basically there's a clause in there that they can enact that would make it very hard for us to sue them or to enforce the contract.
Right.
It would make it hard for us to sue them.
And we put it in there because we were worried about all the things with the supply chain shortages and everything with COVID. We were worried we wouldn't be able to fulfill our part of that obligation. So we put in this clause, and now it's kind of coming back to get us, but it is what it is. That's the agreement. But anyway, I don't want to get too much into legal because I'm not a
That
city attorney.
development was much prior to COVID.
The development agreement came around that time, in 2020.
And so this is just academic, so if they sue us, how much does that lawsuit cost? And have other cities been sued for this kind of thing?
You'll have to talk to the city attorney about that. I will answer that question. have
I
no
mean, it
idea.
sounds like the city council's already voted, or they've already made a decision, this is just a formality.
Yeah,
I mean, all of the meetings that the city council discussed this are, they're on YouTube, so I invite you to go back and listen to the discussion. We never had to go into a closed session. We talked about maybe having to because of potential litigation issues, but we never did. So all of it is open to the public, so you're welcome to listen to that discussion. And it's very similar to what we talked about tonight. And they have taken quite a bit of time to think about it. So,
We could table it for 5 years.
It's not that idea.
That's a great idea.
Well, I'll motion to vote on it, and I'm saying no.
second that.
Sam?
Nay.
Okay.
I mean, is that like you agree with her motion? or-
I agree with her motion.
Okay, then you yay to that motion.
Okay, then yeah.
Yeah. To pass it to the city with a negative recommendation.
Okay. So I would encourage all of you, if possible, to come to the meeting in a week. And there will be a public hearing, and I think they would really appreciate hearing your concerns about
Is
it.
it next Thursday at 6?
Same time, just 1 week later. So I think they would like to hear your concerns, especially when we have a unanimous negative recommendation. I will try to write what the concerns were. I don't think it'll be surprising to them at all because they felt the same exactly. So, but I think if you want to be at that meeting, they would welcome you to public comment there.
And Brad will be at that meeting, right?
He's the lawyer.
I'm not sure. I don't think
Can't we
really.
request that he be there so he can actually answer these questions?
He's been at a lot of these last few meetings answering questions about this. So I'm not sure that, you could ask the mayor, talk to the mayor about that. If you want Brad there, talk to the mayor. And
But you could ask,
I don't necessarily want the city attorney there. I'm not against it, but I'm not, it's gonna be a long meeting already. Let me just put it that way. So anyway, okay, I will pass that on. And again, please feel free to come to that meeting next week. Okay,
moving on. Okay. Hidden Meadows preliminary update.
okay. These are the ones that I gave you the packets for. And I'm gonna try Dropbox one more time, see if I can pull it up here so that we can talk through it.
Will it show up on
It's
this?
pretty short and sweet.
It is, but I'm just gonna pull up the maps. I updated them right before the meeting and they're still not showing up, so, okay. Luckily you have them all printed out. I did get lower resolution ones just before the meeting, so that's why I added them back into Dropbox. But anyway, y'all got them printed out. So basically, Hidden Meadows was annexed in 2021. Initially, they were approved with the annexation for 150 total units. They were gonna have 102 single family and 48 townhomes. When we did the sensitive lands analysis, there were some issues in certain areas, and so they had to reduce their density to 147. So that turned into 111 single family and 36 townhomes. And then, just like we were talking about, the city council is asking that they have a 20% deed restriction on the townhomes, and they do not want to do that. They don't feel like that's feasible for them, so they're asking to reduce their overall density again to 134 single-family lots. There will be no townhomes. You can see that on the plans that you had attached. The lots with the red circle changed from townhomes to single-family homes, and the blue circles are where they took 2 larger lots and made them into 3 lots, or they created a new lot. So I reviewed their layout. There are a couple things that they will need to resolve before they come to final plat approval. So they'll need to work with the fire district and make sure that they are okay with the private lane because it's not meeting our general standard. And they also have to consider the maintenance for that private lane. It's not gonna be a city road, so I wanna make sure that they have plans in place to take care of it, so removal. This is really just for informational purposes, just to make you aware of the change, because this is a significant change between preliminary and final plat. It's not requiring a public hearing, and there's no motion needed, so. Any questions on it?
Yeah, so based off of the conversation that we just had, because
Yeah.
we're taking out the 48 townhomes, that would have been 20% according to the deed. 20% of that would have been, 12 of the homes
Yeah.
would have been median range. And so if the city does pass it to 20%, and we just agree that it doesn't have to be a townhome, that it could be lots. So the 134 that we're gonna vote on for today, you're saying that 20% of those could be median range.
Okay, let me repeat that, because I'm not sure I got it.
Okay,
So all the townhomes will go, and there will be no deed restricted units at all in Hidden Meadows.
none at all.
None at all.
Even if the city agrees to do the 20% for deeds, just because we're throwing out the townhomes, now everything's gonna be at 100% market value.
Yeah, because we are requiring a 20% deed restriction, the developer felt like that was too much. And so they would rather just do single family and no townhomes. So this, for the most part, meets our code. And we can't force the deed restriction when they don't have townhomes.
Right. Sorry. I need to cover that. I'm in a meeting. 20.
And I think just looping back to our previous conversation, I think that's my concern with this whole thing. We see one builder saying, I can't do 100, let's do 20. We see another builder at the same time saying, I can't do 20 either. And we have one builder who built homes and didn't keep their agreement. And when I look at all those facts, it just doesn't seem like a good pattern for us to make another agreement to reduce the requirement. It seems like we're dealing with a bunch of questionable actors.
I mean, I was super excited to say, do 134, but now it's like, no way. I just can't believe that this is happening. It's so depressing. I mean, there's so many people I know that are excited about Hidden Meadows.
Yeah, so that's why I said, when you asked me, like, when you came in, you said, yeah, it seems like a good thing. And I said, it depends on how you look at it, because, exactly, you get it. Right, any chance of affordability at all?
Any
is gone.
chance.
Is gone, right, and that's the downside, for sure.
Okay, so we take away townhomes. Can we tell them 10% cottage lots?
No, it's not in our code,
So we don't get anything.
no.
It's
So
either
what
all
about
or
the-
nothing.
The conservation easement calls for townhomes, doesn't it?
No.
Doesn't
They
it?
can't, that's the only place we allow townhomes, we allow them there.
Gotcha.
We don't ask for them, we say you can.
You don't have to do that, we let you if you want to.
We want you to, so that things are cheaper, but with the 20%, they're saying I'm not gonna do anything.
But-
100%, we'd never get anything in.
Right, the bottom line is, when this comes back for final plat, it meets our code. It still meets our code. And
But it's
so,
not affordable to
I know.
anybody.
And it's not what we approved in the first place.
but it meets our code.
And it's either do that or get sued, is what you're saying.
I am not the city attorney, so I will not answer that question, but that is what,
It's conservation subdivision, meets our code,
yeah.
that's what we're held to.
I mean, we can always say no and it'll go to the city and they can,
There's really no motion for this. This is an informational item, because I don't want to come in for final plat and say, look, here's something totally different, I want you to be aware of it now. They'll still have to go through that approval process later, but really it's just checking the boxes to make sure they're meeting the code.
And at this point, it meets code.
Yeah, it does meet the code.
So just looking forward so that we don't find ourselves in more of these situations, can we change our code?
Yeah, I mean, that's what we're doing here today, so if, we look at this conservation subdivision, this isn't the whole code, it's just a piece of it, and it talks about dimensional standards. I mean, we could look at what could be improved here. I don't know. I feel like at this point, we're at a good place-ish. I don't know that anyone's gonna build townhomes with a 20% deed restriction. That's still, for a developer, that's still high. And for us, it's not high enough.
But I'm saying, maybe for this type of development, what if we mandate townhomes? Or instead of saying they can, say to meet code, you have to have certain townhomes.
I think in some cases that would make sense, but I have seen conservation subdivisions for like a 10-acre parcel, and in that case,
Right.
not so
Doesn't make
much.
much sense.
Yeah. And I don't know that we can, I mean, I guess we could put it in the code that they have to do that. But on the flip side of that is, as a city planner, I actually really like conservation subdivisions.
Right.
Because I feel like if we want to keep Francis rural, That's the best way we can do it. We can't buy all the property in Francis. But we can have this tool. This is, to me, the best tool we have in our tool belt to keep Francis rural.
I don't know, I mean, Park City's got that fund that they're buying up conservation land, you know, I mean,
Well, it's for
It's not
Summit County. It's for all of Summit County. And that's a tax. That's something we pay in our taxes.
I'm just saying that, I mean, I agree with you, I like conservation until it's not affordable for anybody that is looking forward to buying a home.
Right, and that does reduce the supply overall in the market, because where, you know, we could have annexed Hardin at cottage lots, all cottage lots, and they would have had 1 million lots over there, and they would be more affordable, absolutely. But we've reduced supply, so to speak, and we've added open space, so you have to balance priorities, like
So what do we want?
open space,
or
affordable housing, and those are in some ways
Well, that's how we went to a meeting at the Camas City Hall last week.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was a brainstorming session, and there were a lot of people there from Camas and Francis. And it's your property, 840 acres or something, both sides of 248, and what to do with it. They've paid $25 million to them, or paid $5 out of a $25 million purchase for that acreage. But now, what are we gonna keep it open? How are they gonna pay that 20 million? And, you know, this is still an open subject. Nothing is planned or totally thought out other than paying them 5 million. And they have 3 years, correct me if I'm wrong, 3 years to pay it.
Yeah.
At $200,000 a year in interest. And at the end of 3 years, they have to pay them the balance of the 20 million. And then we have, or the county has, that open space. Do we do parks? Do we do, you know, small developments? Do we do an apartment house for employees? Or all townhomes, or 5-acre ranchettes at a premium price to pay for it? There's a lot of ideas that went through. It was a great meeting. It was the most I've learned in my 3+ years on planning. It was very interesting. It'd be nice if we did that like every 6 months to know what the valley was up to. Yeah, and then the other interesting part, and I don't have the answer to it, I don't know if you got a hold of the woman that mentioned what's coming up in legislature, maybe you know more about it. Scott, as to,
So Sherry Pittman, it's a new position so we have a association of governments we're in with Summit County, Wasatch County, and Utah County. Is it Utah? It's called MAG, Mountain Lands Association of Governments. She has a new position there where she helps like the small cities like us with some of our administration issues. So anyway, go ahead, Bob. She was talking about an audit, affordable housing audit that the state.
yeah, the cities or town or the county need to make a plan for any piece of land. Otherwise, they're gonna say the developers can come in and do whatever they want. We won't have any say at all. So it's, you know, that could be in our future in the next 3 to 5 years or whatever.
Your legislature right now is
90%
not working for the
developers.
city, working for, making development in Utah easier for developers.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and I was in a meeting today with all the Wasatch Back planners. We talked a little bit about the next legislative session, and there will be more changes for sure coming. They're in the works. So some of the steps they made to take away some of our abilities to manage development, especially the larger cities have to have what's called like a moderate income housing plan. We don't have to do that because we're smaller, but they're forcing them to have moderate income housing. Anyway, there's more. The legislators done a lot already, and there's more coming. And it's a lot. There's a lot of code changes that we'll see next year. We're working on that. Probably a lot next year. You're gonna see our code will be a lot different by the end of the year next year. That's one of the major projects we'll be working on. Just because of all the legislative changes. And yeah, I've heard a lot of things. It's hard to know what's gonna happen in the future, but, you know, they've heard that they might tell cities you have to have a certain percentage of your city zone for like a higher density, or they might just take away zoning, the city's ability to zone altogether. I think that's probably not likely, but maybe down the road, I don't know. There is a huge housing shortage in Utah, so they're trying to address that. Personally, I feel like they need to give the cities a little more time to let these new measures come into play and see how that works out. They keep adding more and more every year.
But on that note, if we don't change it, then we're ahead of the game, because we can tell the legislation, look, we've already got 20% of our 48 townhomes, or 12, that we're catering to the median home.
Well, that's.
And they don't have to come in and tell us what to do, because we're ahead of the game by making sure that we're keeping it affordable for at least a percentage.
You would think that. You would think that. That is actually anti-development. And so Park City, a long time ago, they put a code in that said that 20% of all their new housing had to be deed restricted. For every new unit that was approved, a 0.2 of a unit would have to be deed restricted. That's not allowed anymore. I was like, yes, but where do we sign up to do that? We can't. We cannot do that. The legislature has taken away our ability to do that. Park City's still grandfathered in under their old code to do it, but we can't. So you would think that that would be something, oh, they're trying to get moderate income housing. Yes, but more along the lines of how can they help developers get the kind of housing they want to build.
They'll build affordable housing, high-rise apartments.
Yeah, exactly. They'll look like sugar house.
Right. So we're kind of walking this fine line of doing the right thing, but not stepping on too many toes.
So we don't have to vote on this
No,
tonight.
it's just to
to
let you know what's
Yeah.
happening. Okay.
Yeah,
But we should show up. I'll be there first.
Yeah.
I'll go too.
All right,
The
well,
sheriff has a gun, she's really good.
Okay.
I'll put it in.
let's see. The 2024 meeting schedule, you're okay to move on to that, Bob?
As soon as I figure out my iPad. Meeting schedule. Francis planning meeting schedule.
Yeah. So here's the
And
schedule for
I'm gonna
next year.
start a pool as to how many we'll actually have to be at.
Yeah,
6 maybe?
Why, we were at all of them this year, weren't we?
no, we canceled a few.
Oh, we
here and there.
did? I
It
think
was
we
a total
canceled
of
one.
8.
Yeah, that's pretty
That's,
cool.
that's a little too. That's normal.
That's only fun too. Cancel them all, but June.
Let's just do it in December because there's nothing going on then.
No. So these are all on the third Thursday, and just like we're meeting off the schedule right now. So that could happen, but we have to post this, and just want to make sure everyone doesn't see any big red flags here with these dates.
Are there any work sessions
Nothing scheduled,
out through?
nothing
I
scheduled.
think we should have something. We haven't had it in a while.
You can bring that up next week. You see the council a few times, it sounds like, or a couple of times.
Yeah. All right, I'm all for this.
No vote on that, I don't think you have to vote
Just-
on it.
It is what it is.
Just make sure it works for most people, there's no big issues.
Agenda, foothills, meeting schedule.
And then we have minutes from the last
That's
meeting.
what it is. I can't make a motion, but I read them.
There were a lot of minutes from the last meeting, so I make a motion to approve minutes.
I approve it.
Want to second it first?
I'll second it.
I,
Aye.
And then we already have planner update. Okay, so, I really wanted to have the general plan on this agenda, but between vacation and other things that came up with work didn't happen. So I'm hoping we'll see that again soon. The Atkinson subdivision that we talked about last month, that was approved by the city council. The height and grade text amendment, remember we talked about the parapet walls and all of that. The council decided to table that, until they have a full quorum there to vote. They were kind of tied 2 and 2. 2 council members liked it, 2 did not. And so, they'll probably be talking about it next week.
Did they say why they didn't like it?
It's too high,
Too high.
10 feet, it's too high.
Another 10-foot parapet wall, oh, it's too high. Christmas party on Wednesday at 6:30, so I know all of you know about it, but just a reminder, and that's it for me.
Motion to go watch the football game?
I second. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
You'd rather not watch football than be there?
I'd rather watch paint dry.
I don't know, you still get out of here.